This is the Sports Mashup number 3, March 24th, 2021. And we're going to cover all the sports around the world today and what's happened over the last week. But before we get into that, I wanted to get the bad news out of the way first. You know, we lost a good guy and a guy who I know supported this podcast and listened to it definitely in the first run. You know, your brother passing away. And I just want to give thoughts to you and your family and his friends and all that stuff. And just wanted to get that out of the way first before we get into this stuff. And we'll do that now. So I guess we'll jump into the NBA as we usually do. And the fact that I'm going to start with the Rockets. I mean, they are horrible. Since they traded James Harden, they've become just a disaster of a franchise. And their lineup sucks. John Wall's not good anymore. I mean, they lost 20 games in a row. If you saw their coach, Steven Silas, this is his first job, by the way, and he's during a press conference. He's got his head down like he's not even answering questions. That's how bad they were. I mean, they were just they finally won a game, but it's become disastrous there. I mean, it really has. It's a mess.
Who's even have around him now, though? Talking about John Wall. Is PJ Tucker?
He got traded to the Bucks. I don't know if he was even on there this year. I can't remember. They have Eric Gordon there, I believe. Oladipo's there, but they're going to trade him. So that's not good. I mean, it's just an atrocious team. They got Kevin Porter Jr. from Cleveland, who was a first-round pick, who yelled at his teammates over something, and then the Cavs got rid of him, so then the Rockets got him. He's not any good. So it's a bad team.
They have a big man?
DeMarcus Cousins was there, but I don't know if he still is.
And they got rid of Capella, right?
Yeah, Capella is on the Hawks or something. They got rid of him last year. Because I remember last year they had PJ Tucker playing the 5. They had no actual power forward or center. And I think if you're going to be a good NBA team, if you don't have a lot of guard talent, you're going to need a stretch 4. And they don't have that. And they're atrocious. And their draft pick situation's a mess, even though they did get a ton of picks for Harden. Most of those picks are going to be late first-round picks. So it's a disaster there. I mean, if I'm a Rockets fan, I'm pissed because, number one, you had Russell Westbrook there last year. You had Chris Paul there the year before that. You had guys around James Harden that could win a championship. They could never get over the hump. Harden, wears a fat suit during warm-ups to get out of there. They trade him, and now they're atrocious, and they're going to be bad for a while. It's going to be bad there. And it's going to be all about, in terms of the draft, who are you going to take in the top 3?
Well, then how far off now do the Hornets fall off with the Melo Ball being out for the season after fracturing his wrist?
Yeah, I mean, LaMelo Ball was far and away the best rookie in the league this year. And I don't know if he's going to – I mean, there's still some games left he could be caught up to for Rookie of the Year. Anthony Edwards is averaging around the same points, but I think LaMelo Ball should still win it. But you look at them right now, they're in 7th in the conference in the East. They're 9 games behind Philly, who's in 1st. They're only half a game ahead of Boston, who's 8th. And remember, there's that play-in scenario now. So if you're the 8th seed, you have to do a little play-in tournament deal before the playoffs to determine who actually gets the 8th seed. So you don't want to be in that spot. And this Hornets team is I didn't even think they'd be around 500 at this point. I thought they'd be a lot worse than that. But they're definitely going to be hurt by this because LaMelo is their main playmaker. I mean, he's the guy that does things. I know they gave Gordon Hayward a ton of money, but
I don't think the rest of their guards are that bad either. Graham out of Kansas is not a bad guard.
Yeah, Devontae Graham's good, and Rozier's okay too.
Yeah, and then who's their centers? Is it one of the Zeller brothers?
Yeah, I think Cody Zeller is there. They also have Bismack Biyombo off the bench, I think, there. And by the way, they play the Rockets tonight, so the 12-30 Rockets. So the fact the Rockets were so basically the Rockets were 11-10, and now they're 12-30. So it's going well, right? I mean, they're looking good. So trade deadline is coming up, I guess. I didn't even know about this. I just wrote it down because I saw some thing about it. I don't know what's going to happen. I know there's a lot of stuff about Kyle Lowry potentially going to the 76ers, which, I mean, I don't know about that. Does any team in the East other than the Nets even have a chance? I guess the Bucks. If you're the Sixers, you got to worry about the health of Embiid, who's been out. It's weird. I don't know.
And plus, just late in the season, if you're bringing in a shooting guard, then like you're messing up your whole team vibe, everything. I understand like if someone was hurt and you need somebody, but like none of your guards are hurt, so then what's the point of bringing in a shooting guard?
There's also a lot about Lonzo Ball potentially being traded to the what the hell is it? The Knicks or the Bulls or someone like that. I know LeVar won't shut up about it.
Well, there's a shocker.
Yeah, I think the Magic are going to be a team that maybe offloads a couple guys like Aaron Gordon, possibly.
I've seen people talking about the Knicks trying to unload a lot of players for picks.
If I'm the Knicks, they're going to make the playoffs. I would leave everything the way it is right now. I wouldn't add anybody. I wouldn't trade anybody unless maybe you're trading like a Kevin Knox who's just been horrible there. The Knicks, it's working. I mean, Julius Randle is having an amazing season, and they're going to be like anywhere from the 4 to the 7 seed in the conference. So why not just, let it happen? Whatever happens, happens. Because they're not.
What if RJ's like, get me out of here? Get me out of here.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't really – he's been so inconsistent. It's hard to tell if he's actually going to be good or not. I also saw the Heat might get Kyle Lowry. Let's see. Aaron Gordon did ask to be traded by the Magic. They're terrible anyway, so what's the point? The Rockets are going to move Oladipo. The Heat and the Knicks have interest in Oladipo. Let's see. Mavs aren't going to do anything. Are the Jazz going to do anything? They're top of the West, 31-11. So that's basically all the NBA trade deadline stuff we need to talk about. So now we can talk about how the NFL is loaded with cash. I mean, my God. Before we get into that, we'll talk about the fact that we have a 17-game season coming up. What do you think about that?
We're just adding an extra game, right? No, not another bye week, just one more game.
Yeah, but I also think eventually they're going to have 18 games. I think they're working towards that now. I think they're going to have a couple years of 17, then they'll get up to 18. I think that's the plan.
So the season's starting earlier then?
I would assume, right? Even though I know they pushed the Super Bowl back like a week. That Super Bowl is going to be more mid-February rather than early February. So maybe it's being moved back a week, and then you have like January 10th is week 18 or whatever. I don't know. It's a little confusing. Or 17 or 18 or whatever. I don't know.
I just noticed this TV deal's 11 years.
11 years, 110 billion. That's billion with a B, by the way. It's just insane. ESPN is this deal for ESPN is a huge win for them. Like, no doubt about it. Like, they could have the opportunity to get the Sunday ticket because it's up on DirecTV in 2022. There's rumors that ESPN is going to get it. I don't know who else would get it because I think DirecTV honestly wants out of it because they're not making that much money off of it. They're not making as much as they put in, I'm sure. Amazon Prime is likely to be the exclusive Thursday Night Football home. So, that's not that surprising because Amazon has cash. So they're trying to dip their toes into the stream.
And I think the only reason Direct kept Sunday Ticket going was because they were the only company that really kept Red Zone because Dish got rid of Red Zone.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't think there's ever going to be another cable service that gets Sunday Ticket. I think it's either going to stay with DirecTV after 2022, which I highly doubt, or it's going to go to ESPN. I think those are the only two ways. But I think it's going to be like an ESPN streaming thing.
Like a plus.
Yeah, like it'll go on ESPN Plus. And if you have ESPN Plus, maybe they'll give you a discount for Sunday Ticket because I'm sure Sunday Ticket's still going to be really expensive, but that's what I assume is going to happen. Also, with ESPN, they can now flex Monday Night Football games for better matchups because we've known for years ESPN Monday Night Football, some of those games have just been horrendous. Like last year, I remember a game you had Cam Newton when he was still thought of as being okay against Joe Flacco and the Jets. Like, who the hell wants to watch that? There's been some bad Monday night games. There's also been some good ones, but mostly bad.
Yeah, same with the Thursday games.
Yeah, I mean, the Thursday games are typically a little bit better overall, I think. I think the Monday night games are more so. They can't move any of the games around. That's the problem.
You get some of those Thursday games, you're like, Well, I don't have to watch this one.
Yeah, like I think there's always like a couple times a year you'll have like a Dolphins-Bengals game, and it's like, who cares? Or, anybody else that isn't good. Niners and Packers game, whenever the Niners had like 3 guys in their entire roster that were actually playing, that game was a joke. So they can flex Monday Night Football games though, so that's big news. They can get better matchups. You'll have CBS, NBC, Fox continuing to broadcast games. ESPN will now have the Super Bowl twice during this deal on ABC. So ESPN in the last couple weeks, they've gotten the Stanley Cup a few different years on ABC, and now they have the Super Bowl on ABC. So another big win because they already have the National College Football Championship on ABC, right? And 1,000, which also means I think for the Super Bowl, we're now going to have those mega casts like they have for the National Championship, which is like there'll be a different channel for like a coach's room. There'll be one with a bunch of former NFL guys sitting around watching the game, a film room, that type of stuff. I think we'll get that for the Super Bowl now. So that would be interesting. So we'll see how that goes. And then ESPN Plus will have 1 game per season in London. I'm thinking about after this deal's done, by the time this deal's done, we'll have like almost all streaming of NFL games.
What is it? Is there 2 games a year in London?
Trying to remember because it hasn't happened since 2019. I thought there was more than that. I'm not sure, but they're going to have one of them on ESPN Plus because usually they alternate. But
I'm guessing there won't be another one again this year either.
I would doubt it, but you never know. I mean, there still is 6 months or 5 months, I guess, until the season. Yeah. So I wouldn't be that surprised if it happened, but I would doubt it. I don't know.
But the Giants are making moves.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of talk going into free agency about how the Giants didn't have any cap space. And then I guess since the NFL salary cap makes no sense, they could give a massive deal to Leonard Williams, which he apparently took less. Like, come on. You think he's worth more than that? I mean, come on. I know he played well for them, but they can structure it weirdly to now where they can, save money against the cap, I guess. So, like, his cap hit last year is bigger than what it's going to be this year because of the way the deal's structured. So you got to do that now. You got to make assign new deals, restructure deals, all that stuff. Then Kenny Golladay got a ton of money there. I'm a little bit worried about that deal if I'm a Giants fan. I know you need your receivers and you're adding one here, a good one, but he's never healthy. Be a little bit worried about that. And then Adoree Jackson, wasn't good last year. A year before that he was okay, and now he's going to be in a different system and a good defense, a better defense than Tennessee, I would say overall, at least in terms of the secondary. But they're spending money. They want to win again. They're tired of losing. I mean, they've been that type of franchise it's obviously a storied franchise. They have those 2 Super Bowls in the last 12 years, but
they should be able to contend for that division.
Yeah. This is all about Daniel Jones. He now has weapons. If Saquon's healthy, he'll have Golladay, Evan Ingram. Say what you will. I know he can't catch, but he's there. Kyle Rudolph's one of those dependable red zone tight ends that can actually catch, and then Sterling Shepard. So no excuses for him.
And they still have Darius Slayton?
I think so, yeah. No excuses for Daniel Jones.
And then Golden Tate's gone, right?
Yeah. Is he a free agent?
I think so.
I'm going to look that up because I forgot that he had that whole incident where his wife was like talking about how he doesn't get the ball or something, and then that was a whole big thing. He is still available. There's an article that says ex-Giants wide receiver hints at wanting to join Packers. No thanks.
Oh, welcome to Green Bay, Mr. Tate.
So there was basically there was an NFL Network video where Michael Silver, who covers the league, said, I have free advice for the Packers, and he basically said the Packers should sign Golden Tate and Richard Sherman, and then Golden Tate responded to the tweet and said, I like what you were saying. So, I'm all for signing Richard Sherman, but Golden Tate, I mean, I think I'd rather have, Larry Fitzgerald.
Speaking of the Packers, are you a fan of this re-signing?
So he single-handedly blew the NFC Championship game for them, basically. I know the offense struggled at times in that game when they needed to be good. Here's what I'll say about Kevin King.
I'll say 2 words. Scotty Miller!
All right. That's a little much. But when he's healthy, he's okay. When he's not healthy, he's horrendous. He can't tackle. He talks way too much trash to not be that good. Every time he makes a tackle, he acts like he just stripped it and picked it. I mean, it's a 1-year deal. It's not a lot of money, and I'm assuming they're going to put other things around him. Like, having to rely on him is completely different from just having him there. Like, I'd rather they get a better cornerback at the number 2 spot, like Richard Sherman, with him, but I doubt that they'll do that, so they'll probably end up drafting one, and then the corner position after Jair Alexander is going to be a mess again, so I'm ready for it. There you go. That's all I got to say. And what the hell are the Titans doing? It's a lot of money for a guy that just got hurt. You think 82.5 is too much? I mean, it seems like a little much.
Yeah, but it's over 5 years.
And you can't even really say anything because we don't know how these deals are structured. So, he's 28.
He had back-to-back good seasons.
Yeah, he's good. I mean, I think 5 years, 82.5 is a little much. But, of course, the Titans don't have a good defense, so they need to improve upon their defense. And this is a guy that does that. But the Steelers' defense is going to be weird next year. I don't know how good it's actually going to be.
But I love how they say Bud Dupree's a linebacker. When he's not a linebacker, he's an edge rusher.
He does do a lot of various things, yes. And I don't know why. They always make it seem like he's an inside linebacker, but he's not. So that confuses me because you have all these guys in Pittsburgh. They basically are the same to me. I don't know. Like Devin Bush, same initials backwards. It's very confusing for someone who doesn't care about the Steelers, I guess. I don't know. So, yeah, we can move on to Dalvin Tomlinson, who is a very good player. And the Giants let him walk.
2 years, $21 million.
It's not a deal I would love if I'm a Giants fan. Could have had him back. Defense would have really been humming if they had him back. He's really good. And this is just like whenever the Giants let what's-his-face walk to the Vikings in the same scenario. Was that Linval Joseph or someone like that? They let him walk there, and then he turns out to be a star for the Vikings. It's the same damn thing.
I'm really not a fan of this next deal.
Which is Will Fuller to the Dolphins for $10.625 million, up to $10.625
for 1 year.
Why don't you like it?
I think that's way too much for Will Fuller.
Well, I don't know. I'm sure it's got to be incentive based for him to actually get the 10.625. And I'm sure I wonder how much that counts against the cap. I wonder if I could look that up. We're doing things on the fly here. That's how we operate. We don't have all these producers in our ears saying, "Hey, he counts for this much against cap." We don't do that.
Why Ethan's looking it up? The 4 best wide receivers left in free agency: Larry Fitzgerald, T.Y. Hilton, Antonio Brown, and Sammy Watkins. There was Josh Reynolds, but just the other day he got signed by the Titans.
Are you surprised that Larry Fitzgerald hasn't been re-signed by Arizona yet?
See, I don't know. I don't know if them signing AJ Green and with them already having Christian Kirk, with them having 3 receivers, they don't need or want that, and they're just trying to find, maybe a small speedster slot receiver.
I don't understand it. Why would you disrespect your franchise legend for AJ Green? I mean, come on. Jesus, AJ Green is not good anymore.
No, I'm not saying like that, but I'm saying maybe they're just trying to find a small slot receiver that has a lot more speed.
Yeah, I mean,
like a Wes Welker type, someone they can dump and run with.
The GM of the Cardinals, Steve Keim, said that they've traded Tex lately, and not a lot about football apparently. He said that he still has a lot left in the tank, in my opinion. He runs great routes, really strong in traffic. I think he was the 3rd best receiver in the NFL this past year with catching balls in traffic. Really strong and still has the vertical speed. What are you doing, a draft report on him? I mean, come on. He's been there forever. Why wouldn't you want to keep him? If he wants to come to Green Bay and hang out, I'd rather have him than Golden Tate. So why not? We'll see. This is a big signing here. for the Dolphins, doing it again. Basically signing me. How about that? They signed me, except there's a C in front at the beginning of his name. The rest is me. So I had to throw that on there. 3 years, $7.8 million for Sethan Carter, the tight end and fullback.
Who even is this guy?
I don't know, but I've seen him on Madden. That's the only reason I knew about him. And I was like, really? That is a name? Sethan?
How long has this guy been in the league? Where did he play at before?
I think he was in the Bengals. But I can't believe that there's someone in the world that has basically my name, but it's not, but it's that close. He's 27. He went to Nebraska, and he's been on the Bengals from 2017 until last season. Now he's headed to Miami. If he wants to hit me up and get him on the pod, talk to him about his name, we can do that. And that would be fun. But out the Browns. Browns are making moves. John Johnson III, really good safety. And the Browns defense.
I thought they were already having cap issues, and then they go out and make this $34 million signing.
Cap issues just don't exist. I mean, teams may want you to think that they have that, but it's just if you can restructure and have bonus laden deals, then what the hell is a cap issue at this point, right? I mean, you can basically do whatever you want. Like when you look at the Browns structure, they have 14% of their cap going to Odell and Jarvis Landry. So, I mean, come on.
Then you have the Bucks re-signing Sue for a 1-year deal. And then they also extended Donovan Smith for another 2 years, which I wasn't a fan of.
What do you think about Sue coming back then?
I was okay with that. I mean, they also just extended or re-signed Nacho like 3 days ago.
They have about $2 million in cap space.
And that's $2 million they're gonna have to use to get Fournette back. Either Fournette or Antonio Brown.
What do you think?
But I mean, if they already have Scotty Miller and they have these two other tight ends, is Antonio Brown necessary?
You don't need him. The only reason he was there in the first place is because Tom Brady wanted him. So
I was saying, if you have Scotty Miller and then Tyler Johnson that kind of was filling in when Chris Godwin was hurt, do you need Antonio Brown there?
You need Julian Edelman. That's who you need.
That's not happening. We already know that.
Bring back some more Bostonians to Tampa. Get Edelman there. Next step, you get what's his face.
I really thought we were going to sign James White.
I thought the Packers might sign him until they re-sign Aaron Jones, but I mean, New England and Tampa, that'd be a hell of a Super Bowl. I'm just saying.
I thought that was going to be Ronald Jones be the first second down back, James White be the third down back.
So if they don't bring back Fournette, do you go into the season with Ronald Jones and then the second guy being Keyshawn Vaughn, or do you draft a guy you think?
I really didn't like when they signed Keyshawn Vaughn, so
draft.
I would draft some little scat back.
Let me see if I can find a good one for you. Let's see. I mean, I know Najee Harris won't be there.
I was going to say, Najee Harris, sign him up.
I mean, that's like me saying the Packers were going to get CeeDee Lamb last year, which obviously didn't happen. So I'm trying to think here.
What about
ETN from Clemson?
Yeah. What about Clemson's running back? Do the Bucs even have a first-round pick?
I thought they did. I don't know. They got someone. I got a Target ad playing in my ears now. Anyway, Javonte Williams is a nice 5'10", 220 back from North Carolina. What about Trey Sermon from Ohio State? That's another good one. You got that Jarrett Patterson fellow from Buffalo who had a game with like 500 rushing yards.
Who's that dude from Purdue that just had that killer combine or pro day?
There's a football player from Purdue going to the NFL.
He had like a 42.5-inch vertical.
Is it a receiver?
I don't know. He looked tiny.
Rondale Moore? It's probably Rondale Moore.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a stud. I want him in Green Bay so bad.
Is he receiver or running back?
Receiver.
He looked tiny.
He is 5'9", 180.
He's a receiver.
Yep.
See, that's the type of guy like Arizona needs to be the little slot guy.
So they can have someone who's the same height as Kyler Murray catching passes?
Yeah.
Kyler Murray won't accept the fact that he's probably 5'9", I bet. Anyway, I mean, Rondale Moore would be great in Green Bay. I'm just saying if he wants to get drafted by the Packers, he can come on down. But that's besides the point, I guess. I guess we can shift gears over to the college hoops section where the tournament and the first 2 rounds have happened and they've been done and lots has happened. You got 3 1 seeds left. Obviously, my guy's bowing out. Thanks for a great season and then ruining it at the end. That's fine. You got 2 2 seeds left. You got 1 3 seed, 1 4 seed. So this has been one of the craziest tournaments in terms of upsets. And I think there's a lot of issues in terms of certain teams being seeded a certain way and that kind of not being a good matchup for the second round team. Hint, hint, Iowa and Illinois.
And then every team got to the bubble and everything was fine. What happened with VCU?
I don't really understand this whole thing. I think probably what happened, and I don't know if they've said this or not, but so I think there's certain cases where if you have the virus in you, it won't show on a test for a few days. So there was a referee at the Atlantic 10 championship game between St. Bonaventure, who ended up being fine, they had no issues, and VCU, who tested positive, and maybe they got it from him and it spread to some of the players, and then the players didn't have it show up on a test until Thursday or Friday or whenever that was. So it's a very confusing situation. Now, let's be honest. VCU would not have beaten Oregon, but it would have been good for them to actually get to play. But, yeah that was a weird situation. I expected it was going to happen to somebody, but the fact that they didn't have any issues and then before the game, it's like, well, because this game was supposed to be on Saturday. So they would have been there for like 3 or 4 days already. So that's a weird situation. And you better hope that they tested them multiple times before announcing this, because if it was a false positive for some of those guys and they got screwed, that would be bad. But I'm assuming they tested them multiple times. But I think the entire country is jumping on the backs of Oral Roberts to root for them, because this is like Dunk City, Florida Gulf Coast 2013. You got a 15 seed making a big-time run. That's what we live for.
But at least Florida Gulf Coast was exciting to watch.
I mean, Oral Roberts has 2 of the best players left in this tournament.
But I'm just saying, like, Florida Gulf Coast, it was
alley-oops and
dunking on people. It was great.
Yeah, and it was weird because they were like, big white guys. You wouldn't expect those guys to be dunking all over people, but they were.
To be fair, I've kind of been a little busy this week, so I haven't watched many games.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Max Asmus led the country in scoring. He plays for Oral Roberts. And then Kevin O'Banner. It's like an inside-out duo. They're both very good. Now, the only problem for them, and what I kind of worried about them with Ohio State and Florida, who they beat, was the fact that they really only have 2 guys that score. Like, those guys are both averaging 27-plus points per game in the tournament. So after those guys, it gets pretty sketchy. So, I mean, do they have a chance against the Must-Bus in Arkansas? Sure. Would I be picking them? No, probably not. But I think they have a chance. I mean, I think it'd be great to see an 15 seed get to the Elite Eight. Be great.
I woke up Friday expecting to see Michigan State had won, and then I woke up and saw that they had gotten beat in the playing game.
Michigan State, just a terrible finish. I mean, I'm sick of these situations where you have a chance to.
I didn't expect that from a Tom Izzo team.
Yeah.
I think I had them winning one game in the tournament.
Yeah, them beating BYU.
Yeah. I didn't have them making a far run, but I had them at least winning a game in the tournament, and then came win the playing game. And now UCLA is just running.
Yeah, I mean, I had BYU beating Michigan State in the first round, so I got that all wrong. But UCLA, I mean, it's been a pretty normal, like a more easy route for an 11 seed than it usually would be, because Abilene Christian beating Texas. And the big problem for Abilene Christian, so undersized. You look at the lineup for Abilene Christian, 5'7", 6 foot, 6 foot, 6'7", 7 foot. Not a big lineup at all. And they don't have the scoring to keep up with is UCLA, and I'll give Abilene Christian credit. They play more defense and harder defense, and they close out better than any team I've seen all season against Texas. They did that, but the energy is hard to keep up for an entire game. They did it against Texas. They couldn't do it against UCLA, and they just don't have the offense to keep up with UCLA. So UCLA is on to the Sweet 16. They're playing Alabama. We'll do some picks later and all that, but UCLA adds on to the story of the fact the Pac-12 has just been running it. I mean, my God, the Pac-12 has everybody left except for Colorado. So pretty impressive. I mean, 4 of 5 left. USC, Oregon will play each other, so one of them will be gone. UCLA,
out of all the Pac-12 teams, you'd think that'd be one of the teams that would still be left.
Yeah, I would have guessed that Oregon State would be gone, but they're not.
But ever since the Pac-12 tournament, they've just been hot.
Yeah, Bill Walton nailed it. He had every Pac-12 team in the Final Four, even though there's only 4 Final Four teams. He had 5 of them in the Final Four, so nailed it.
I mean, I had Colorado losing to Florida State, but
I did too. Yeah, it's a tough one. The Big Ten has been atrocious. The Big Ten had 9 teams. They have 1 left. If LSU would have played a little bit better down the stretch, the Big Ten would have 0 teams in the Sweet 16. Which I thought would have been hilarious, to be honest. But Michigan saved them. The Big 12's been struggling as well. Baylor is the only team left. You had Texas in round 1. They lost. Everyone else got to round 2. Texas Tech lost to Arkansas. Kansas got embarrassed by USC. Oklahoma State lost to Oregon State. West Virginia lost.
Embarrassed might be an understatement.
Yeah, when you score 51 points in a tournament game and you lose by 34, I mean – I knew there was issues with this Kansas team. I thought they would lose to USC. I didn't think they'd get murdered by USC.
And they had gotten back, what's his name, right?
They had McCormick back. They didn't have Jalen Wilson back, which is a big part, but they had everybody else there.
Yeah, they got McCormick back, though.
And Eastern Washington took them down to Eastern Washington could have beaten them, but they pulled away at the end of that first-round game. But real quick, I want to go over every team real quick that's left.
West Virginia. Oh.
Yeah, that was brutal. That was brutal. They just didn't get into it quick enough. They didn't play well enough defense. That was really the worry with this West Virginia team, is not great defensively. And it caught up with them because Buddy Buckets of Syracuse doesn't miss. Buddy Boeheim.
But I just thought their scoring against that zone would have just –
Why do people act like they've never seen a zone when they play Syracuse in the tournament? Like, their zone is not good all season. And then everyone else –
It's not like they play like the toughest zone either. Like, they play a deep back – the 3 back guys play deep. So it's not like the middle that's not open. It's all day open.
And it's not like they have these big-time athletes making plays defensively, because they don't. I don't look at Buddy Boeheim and Joe Girard and say, man, those guys are athletes. No. But real quick, final Sweet 16 teams, I'm going to give you 2 players from each team that they're going to need to be able to win. And we'll start with Gonzaga. I love Corey Kispert. I think he's one of the best shooters in the country, but I'll say Drew Timme and Jalen Suggs, they need them to play well to beat Creighton, which, I mean, they could probably not play well and still win. But for Creighton, Mitch Ballock, Marcus Zagorowski, they're 2 best scorers. You got to get those guys going. USC, as much as I like Taj Edey, I think it's the Mobley brothers, Evan Mobley, Isaiah Mobley. They've been running it. They played tremendously well against Kansas. They'll need them. Oregon, there's so many guys in that team that are athletic, that can shoot, that can play defense. Chris Duarte and Will Richardson, extremely important for the Ducks.
What about Eugene from Eugene?
Eugene from Eugene is great, but I that probably should have been one that I picked, because they got Evan Mobley to deal with at the 5.
You put duo or trio, he'll be a trio.
All right, we'll add him to the mix. Yeah, Eugene from Eugene's a stud. For Michigan, Livers won't be playing, so you're going to need Wagner and probably Eli Brooks and Hunter Dickinson if we're going to pick a trio from Michigan. Then Florida State, MJ Walker and Koprivica off the bench, because Koprivica blocks shots like it's nobody's business. Give me him. UCLA, their 2 best players by far in this tournament, who they need. Johnny Juzang, the transfer from Kentucky, and, of course, Jaime Jaquez Jr. They need both those guys to play well. Alabama, they got 700 guys that can shoot threes on that team. So you can pick anybody, but Herb Jones is very important. So is Jaden Shackelford and Josh Primo, who literally has the face of a 6-year-old. So Josh Primo is a stud. Baylor, it's obviously the guard trio of Jared Butler, what's-his-face, Maceo Teague, and Davion Mitchell. Obviously, everybody knows that. For Villanova, it's Jeremiah Robinson Earl and the Archidiakono brother, who's not even that good, but they need him to run point, I guess. So there you go. Oral Roberts, like I mentioned earlier, is obviously Kevin O'Banner and Max Asmus. Arkansas, the must-bust, it's Justin Smith and Moses Moody. And then finally, Loyola Chicago, I think it's Cam Crutwig and Lucas Williamson, the two guys that were on the team that got to the Final Four in 2018. They need those guys to play well to make a bit of a run here. And then for Oregon State, I'm going to go with Ethan Thompson and Roman Silva because Silva is extremely big underneath and hard to stop. So you got to pick him there. And then the final matchup, obviously for Syracuse, it's Buddy Buckets, Buddy Boeheim, and Joe Girard. If Girard can shoot like he did against West Virginia, I don't know how they're going to lose. And then for Houston, if DeJon Jarreau's fine, I know he had a hip pointer, but he should be good. And Quentin Grimes. So we'll do our picks here momentarily, but now we move on to the golf section where there's not much. What do you think? Matt Jones, you ever heard of him?
The name, I'm pretty sure I've heard of him, but
there's probably a million guys named Matt Jones though. So,
but won by 5 shots.
Yeah.
None of the golfers we picked, I think we each only had one guy made the cut.
Yeah, Phil made the cut for me.
I had Ricky make the cut for me, so my boy Lee Westwood finally let me down.
Yeah, it was not a great week for my picks at all. And I'll go over my record here momentarily, but it's not good. So you got that. So we're not going to pick the tournament this week because I don't even know who's playing in it and what's the point at this point. We're going to pick the Valero Texas Open next week because that's a big one. Get back on tour. Plus, we'll have the Masters coming up in a couple weeks, of course. And speaking of things coming up, opening day is in 8 days. It's jumping on us quick, very quickly. And we'll do our season predictions and World Series futures next week because we'll be doing next week's episode on the eve of opening day. So Thursday is when the season starts next week and all that stuff. And then fantasy baseball. We'll probably talk a little bit about fantasy baseball weekly on this just to kind of look at like who's dominating and all that stuff and all that exciting stuff that I know nobody actually really keeps up with an entire season of fantasy baseball for the most part, but whatever. Yeah. You got anything to add for baseball? You got any thoughts?
I'm ready for the season to start.
I'm wearing my Cardinals jacket a week early, I would say. Got to wear something else that I have next week, I guess, to get the season going. But I think next week we'll just pick like division winners, maybe look at some like odds on MVP and just kind of look at those, plus the World Series futures. So we'll go into all that next week. But on to the NHL now. We're going to start real quick. I have this press release, of course, official NHL press release about the lottery, the draft lottery.
Hey, look at your phone real quick.
I will check it right now. I will pause right now because I don't even know where the button is for that, but –